The ink had barely dried on the $40 million contract when they called me into the boardroom. I still had the client's champagne on my breath. The room was cold, silent, glass walls overlooking the skyline like a corporate throne room. Alan Prescott, the founder and CEO, didn't even look at me. He just slid a folder across the table like it was some routine HR notice. Restructuring, he said, effective immediately. I stared at the termination letter. I didn't blink. My fingers traced the words like they weren't real. My body was still humming from the high of sealing the biggest deal in the firm's history, and now I was being erased from it. We're moving in a direction that requires a different image, Alan added, voice dry like he was discussing stock options. Someone with a background that aligns better with our premium clientele. Next to him, I saw Greg Mason, my junior, my trainee, my shadow, looking everywhere but my eyes. Greg will be taking point on the account moving forward, Alan continued. He's a Stanford grad. He understands these circles. I didn't say a word. I didn't argue. Didn't beg. I just nodded once. Then I smiled. They thought this was over. They had no idea. 2 weeks earlier, I was sitting across from Lauren Voss, the sharpest COO I'd ever met. She ran Oberon systems like a scalpel, not a hammer, precise, lean, and deadly. We were closing final terms, 40 million on the line. Jason, she said, leaning forward, this deal only happens if you're the one running point post-signing. I don't want to hand this off to someone who's never stepped foot on a factory floor. I nodded. You'll have me, start to finish. No corporate shell games, she pressed. I don't trust suits. I trust people who've bled for what they sell. I used to work assembly, I said. Built the first-gen Oberon rotors myself. She held out her hand. Then it's done. That handshake wasn't just a formality. It was a contract between two people who knew what it meant to fight their way up. I never told Alan, never put it in writing, but Lauren trusted me, not the firm, me, and they fired me. 3 days before the signing, I overheard Greg in the executive lounge. He didn't see me. His voice was smug, calculating. Jason's good, yeah, but he doesn't exactly fit the brand. You've seen his resume. State college, ex-welder. The client's expecting someone more polished. Alan nodded. And you'd be comfortable stepping in? They like me, Greg said. And let's be honest, Jason's too emotionally involved. We need someone strategic, not sentimental. My fist clenched. I'd built that relationship from scratch. I'd flown coach to visit plants, stayed up on Zoom calls troubleshooting issues myself, slept in terminals to make meetings happen. Greg had never even met Lauren, but he had the right background, the right clothes, the right school. I had the wrong pedigree, and that's all that mattered. The day they fired me, I walked out with nothing but a folder and my dignity. They didn't even let me clear my desk. Said it would pack my things, like I was some criminal. I got in my truck, yeah, truck, not a leased Benz, and drove home. On the way, my phone buzzed. A message from Lauren. Looking forward to kickoff on Monday. My team's excited. They hadn't told her yet. Of course not. They were planning to do it after the celebration. Parade Greg in like some corporate prince. Pretend nothing changed. They thought the relationship was with the logo. They forgot who actually earned the trust. I could have texted her, warned her, but I didn't. Some lessons stick harder when you feel them. That weekend, I grilled a steak on my tiny balcony, watched the city lights blink, and thought about what would happen at 10 a.m. Monday morning. Greg in his navy suit, Alan with his fake smile, the whole board clinking glasses under the Oberon logo. Then Lauren would walk in. First thing she'd ask, "Where's Jason?" And when they told her I was gone, I already knew what she'd say. That deal was with me, not the firm. No Jason, no contract. I didn't sleep Sunday night, not because I was anxious, because I was counting down the hours. Watching it all tick towards zero, 10:01 a.m. Monday. I was sitting on my couch, black coffee in hand, watching the sun burn through the blinds. My phone buzzed, one message, then two, then 10, all from company numbers I'd already blocked. I let them pile up. I could picture the room, the glass conference table, the leather chairs, the nervous glances. Lauren standing with her arms crossed, face unreadable. I knew her style. Director, brutal, efficient. The first words out of her mouth were probably, "Where is Jason?" And then the crash began. At 10:08, Alan tried calling me. I didn't answer. At 10:10, a message came in from a number I didn't recognize. "They're panicking. What did you promise her?" "Marcus." Marcus was legal. He'd always treated me like a person. I didn't reply. I just smiled and took another sip. By noon, it was chaos. Lauren walked out. Didn't shake hands, didn't look back. No press, no signing ceremony, just silence. $40 million disappeared in a blink, and that was just the beginning. That afternoon, I got a call from a blocked number. I answered on instinct. "Jason," Alan's voice was raw, like someone who'd been yelling for hours. "There's been a misunderstanding." I didn't speak. I let the silence press against him. "We didn't realize. Lauren says she won't work with anyone else. She's refusing to move forward without you. This is extremely damaging." I took a slow breath. Sounds like a Prescott problem, not a Jason problem. He stumbled over his next words. "Can we meet? Talk about coming back?" I laughed. "You mean the guy who was too blue-collar to sit in the room? That Jason? We made a mistake." His voice cracked. "Name your price." I leaned back on my couch, watching the ceiling. "You gave my job to a guy who doesn't know the difference between a switch and a server rack. Now you want me to fix it?" "Yes," Alan said, desperate now. "Triple your salary, VP title, full control of the Oberon account." I let the silence linger just long enough. Then, "No, Jason, you don't get to fire me," then ask me to clean up the mess. "At least tell me what you told Lauren." "The truth," I said, and hung up. By evening, LinkedIn was lit up with rumors. Oberon backs out of deal. Prescott and Company in emergency meetings. Internal shakeup expected. Greg was quiet. No post, no update. His social feed turned off. I pictured him sitting in his overpriced apartment, sweating through his perfect shirt, realizing he was never the golden boy. Just a placeholder. The next day, I met Lauren at a dive bar near the industrial district. She was already at the corner booth, sipping soda like it was scotch. I slid in across from her. "They tell you yet?" I asked. "That you've been fired?" "That I've been replaced." She nodded. "They tried to tell me it was a seamless transition. Said you left on your own terms." I could see Greg sweating through his suit. "Didn't even tell you I was gone before the meeting?" "Nope." I asked where you were, and Greg started talking about team realignment. I stopped him mid-sentence. She looked me dead in the eyes. "You made me a promise." I nodded. "I meant it." "You still in?" "I don't work there anymore." She smirked. "Good. I don't want to give them a dime, but I've still got a system to build. So here's what I propose." She pulled out a tablet and slid it across. At the top, Orion Core Industries, a name I hadn't heard in years, a tech firm that had always been one step behind Prescott, with fewer resources but better vision. "They've been trying to win my business for 5 years," Lauren said. "Never had the execution. You bring the execution, I bring the contract." I looked at the numbers, then at her. "You serious? I'll double the budget. 40 becomes 80. We build from scratch. On your terms." I didn't need time to think. Yes. That night, I updated my LinkedIn. Strategic partner, Orion Core Industries. It took less than 2 hours for the vultures to notice. Marcus texted, "You're trending." Alan called again. I didn't answer. Instead, I posted a single sentence. "Execution matters more than pedigree." By Wednesday, 3 former co-workers reached out. Quietly, off the record. "If you're building something," one wrote, "I want in." These were the ones like me, builders, not talkers, the ones who never got invited to the golf course or the donor's brunch. But they were killers when it came to results. That Thursday, I walked into Orion's office, a small industrial loft near the docks. Concrete floors, exposed beams, no glass towers, no mahogany desks, just a whiteboard, a team of 6, and a dream. The COO, a woman named Priya, met me at the door. "Lauren says you're dangerous," she said. "I like that. I'm not here to play safe." "Good, because we're going for blood. And if you're into stories like this, betrayal, revenge, high stakes. Make sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss what happens next. We didn't just want to win Oberon. We wanted to take Prescott apart, piece by piece. Reputation first, clients next, then talent. I spent that night mapping out names. People I knew were good. People Prescott had stepped on. Engineers, sales reps, even interns. I sent 5 messages. All 5 replied yes within the hour. The war had begun. Prescott and company bled faster than I expected. The press caught wind of Oberon's defection by Monday night. By Tuesday morning, 3 major tech outlets ran headlines. Prescott loses flagship deal and $40 million deal implodes after executive shakeup. By Thursday, internal panic leaked. A junior analyst I once mentored forwarded me an internal email marked high priority, client retention strategy, emergency session at 9 a.m. Greg's name was listed under key risks. They were flailing. Friday, I met with Orion's engineering lead, a soft-spoken genius named Eli, who used to run ops at Prescott. He'd left a year ago after Greg took credit for his product roadmap. I laid out what I wanted, a lean modular deployment system that could scale with Oberon's growth. Impossible under Prescott's old architecture, Eli said. But here, we build from the bones up. I've been waiting for this. That night, I called Marcus. He didn't pick up. 2 hours later, I got a message. I can't talk right now, but you were right. The next morning, the Prescott board ousted Alan Prescott as CEO. The official statement said, strategic realignment. The internal whisper, he underestimated the wrong man. They named Kelsey Danvers interim CEO, a pure numbers person, cold, surgical. Her first move? Slashing marketing. Her second? Mass restructuring. Her third? Calling me. Jason, she said, voice thin over speaker, I'd like to make a proposal. I was standing at Orion's whiteboard, mid-sprint planning. I didn't sit. You're not the first, I said. You won't be the last. We're not trying to rebuild the past. We're trying to survive. Help us. No. At least listen. You fired the person who built your flagship, then handed it to a fraud. You don't survive that. You want revenge, I get it. You don't get anything. This isn't revenge. This is justice. That week we signed 3 more clients, all former Prescott accounts, all tired of being overbilled and underdelivered, all eager to work with someone who gave a damn. Lauren flew in with her legal team and signed the final papers herself. Her one condition? Keep it lean, keep it honest, and never ever hire Greg. I agreed. We held our first full team meeting the following Monday. 15 people, a handful of laptops, no suits, no buzzwords, just the hum of hunger in the air. We build fast, we build real, I told them. No egos, no fakes, just results. The room lit up like a live wire. I'd never felt that kind of energy, not in all my years of chasing titles. This wasn't a company, it was a weapon. Meanwhile, Greg vanished. No press, no comments, no updates. But insiders said he was under internal review. Whatever that meant. Alan had been demoted to a ceremonial board seat, founder emeritus. Translation, leashed. Then came the client poaching campaign. One by one, I called them. Not to pitch, just to talk. Old contacts, quiet conversations, no pressure. Just wanted to see how things are running, I'd say. And every single one? Dissatisfied, missed deadlines, poor onboarding, and no Jason to fix it. 3 moved over by the end of the month. 1 was worth $18 million alone. By quarter 2, Orion had grown 240%. We weren't just competition. We were the new standard. The press started to notice. The exile who crushed his old firm. Orion Core rising, the Jason Walker effect. My inbox flooded. Recruiters, investors, interview requests. One even offered a book deal, but the one that mattered most came from someone unexpected. Lauren, you've got their attention. Now take their future. I knew what she meant. See, Prescott had one more asset, one contract they hadn't fumbled. Yet, Meridian Dynamics, a legacy account worth $70 million annually, conservative, risk-averse, loyal. Until I heard from someone inside, another former Prescott dev, that the rollout had gone sideways. Missed integrations, shaky data migration, and Meridian's CTO had reached out to a few firms for a second opinion. We weren't on the list, yet. I called Lauren. You know Meridian's tech lead, right? Personally. Why? Because I want a meeting. You planning something? Not planning, I said. Executing. 3 days later, I was sitting across from Diane Yu, Meridian's iron-nerved CTO. Her office was bare. No awards, just a clock and a stack of code printouts. Lauren vouches for you, she said. Why should I trust you with this? Because I already know how they're failing you. I laid out everything. Missed sync intervals, uncompressed payloads, faulty encryption. Her eyes narrowed. You got all that from outside? No, I got that from the people they fired. She didn't smile, she just nodded. Let's do this. And that was it. The final domino. Meridian pulled their contract on a Wednesday. No warning, no grace period, just a clean, silent break. The press didn't know yet, but Prescott did. Word came to me from Marcus, still at the firm, still loyal enough to whisper. They're calling it catastrophic client attrition, he said. Internal memo says morale's collapsing. Kelsey's under fire. Board's panicking. Then after a pause, Greg's gone. Just walked out. I didn't respond. What was there to say? We just pulled $70 million out from under them. That night, I stood in Orion's tiny common room, whiteboard still stained from dry erase markers, walls buzzing with war room energy. We were 23 people strong now, ex-Prescott techs, engineers, designers, all overlooked, underestimated, and now unleashed. They tried to bury you, I told the room. They forgot we were seeds. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about proving that results matter more than polish, that grit beats pedigree, that the ones they ignored were the ones who'd build the future. 2 days later, Prescott's stock dropped 21% in a single trading session. 3 more clients terminated contracts. The board issued a public apology. Kelsey resigned. Alan vanished from the press. And Greg? Last I heard, he was pitching startup ideas to VCs who wouldn't take his calls. And then came the email from Prescott's remaining board chair. We're exploring acquisition options. Would Orion be open to discussion? I read it twice, then I forwarded it to Lauren with a single line. They're finished, she replied instantly. Burn the last bridge. I didn't write back. I picked up the phone and called Blake, Orion's CEO. We just got an offer. Let me guess, he said, already smiling. Prescott wants to buy their execution back. They want a lifeline. What should I say? I paused, then. Tell them we're not for sale. Not now, not ever. That response went viral. Screenshotted, shared, memed. You couldn't afford me then. You still can't now. Prescott folded within the quarter. The press had a field day. Walker wins, Orion crushes Prescott in historic market flip. The blue-collar takeover, how one fired engineer rebuilt the industry. I didn't give interviews. I didn't do TED Talks. I just kept building. 6 months later, we moved into our new office, a converted warehouse with open space, natural light, and a rooftop grill. No glass towers, no titles on doors, just people who gave a damn. I kept a framed photo on my desk, me in my welding gear, back when I built hardware with my hands. Next to it, my layoff letter from Prescott and a note from Lauren. Never forget why they were wrong. I didn't. 1 year to the day after I got fired, I stood on a stage at the Tech Forward Summit, keynote speaker. I wore jeans and boots, no suit. I walked to the mic, room dead silent, and I said, don't mistake credentials for value. I wasn't underestimated, I was misjudged. There's a difference. Applause shook the room, not for who I was, but for what I represented. Change, truth, reckoning. Later that night, I walked the rooftop of our building, beer in hand, watching the city flicker below. Marcus had texted, the empire's gone. They're liquidating what's left. I didn't feel pity, didn't feel rage, just peace. Because revenge isn't always fire and fury. Sometimes it's a slow, perfect collapse. Everything they built, gone in 10 months. And if you liked watching it fall, Subscribe. There's more where that came from.